Hello, everyone. Good evening from beautiful Midwestern Illinois. It's Thursday, May 28th, 2026. I've gathered a couple of stories over the last couple of days to highlight the absolute madness of the world that we find ourselves in. The organized timeline of events are telling two stories that simultaneously cannot be true. If one is true, then the other is absolutely not true. We're going to explore this in a little bit greater detail. This is the recurring theme lately where we hear one side of the story and then we hear the complete opposite other side of the story, and the market is scrambling to price all of this in all at once as it's happening. The consistent confusion and chaos that this is creating is providing one of the most interesting trading environments ever. And it is not very much fun at all. Trying to sort out this mess on a daily basis is definitely not enjoyable, to say the least. The headline of the day on the front page is oil tanks to $87 on record draws as Cushing hits bottom. We got the inventory reports yesterday, but we had more record draws. It wasn't as bad as the draw the week prior, but it was still pretty bad. We're going to go over those numbers here in a little bit. Some of the other stories here, drill, baby, drill, still not fixing stupid. We have trader sentiment bearish despite the war and the record draws in energy. It makes absolutely no sense. We have algorithmic trading selling everything. We have the mainstream media spinning the narrative that everything is awesome. The stock market hit another record high today. We'll explore that in a second soon. We've got AI wearing his little data hat, make data great again, optimizing the narrative, and we have more oil than anyone, says the guy who can't fill a storage tank. He also approves more bombs, more deals, more tweets, and more wins. The money printing is never going to stop, and peace through power, bombs first, peace later will be covered um, later on in the publication. So that is the front page. Let's get into what's going on behind the scenes here. And if we go to Zero Hedge, we can see the headline roulette here. Peace off, peace on. Headline roulette leaves oil and the dollar down. Stocks and bonds, bullion bid. Gold had a pretty decent rally today, up about $120. We'll look at the chart here in a minute. We've got the virus scare here. We've got Iran fires warning shots on unauthorized vessels. I've heard other stories that they directly attacked a couple of ships, so it's warning shots, it's direct attack, so we can't really figure that out. It's not clear what's happening once again. We have, let's see, we're going to need a new $250 bill, apparently, because money is just not going as far as it used to. So maybe we'll get another, denomination that'll help the inflationary pressures significantly, along with all the money printing, right? We've got some drone war headlines. The war in Ukraine and Iran is being increasingly fought with drones. That's nothing really new. Stocks gain, of course, amid constructive U.S. Iran rhetoric, news squawk, U.S. market wrap. This is the theme of the last several weeks. The stock market continues to hit record high after record high after record high while there is no resolution to the war. And how does this actually work? So I said, show me the timeline of news stories, grab a few key themes with timestamps and cite sources. Last 48 hours escalation negotiation timeline. Monday, peace deal narrative accelerates about 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Reports emerge that U.S. and Iranian negotiators are discussing a framework for the 60-day ceasefire extension. Draft proposals reportedly include shipping access through Hormuz and limited sanctions relief. Markets react positively to the possibility of a broader settlement. Okay, so let's look at the daily chart for the last couple of days. We can see that every day is reacting positively. It's not just a few days, it's every day. So no matter what headline is out there, the market is reacting positively. Oh, except for the S&P, that went down a little bit on the 26th, but it's now at another record high at around just shy of 7,600. And we can see that the Nasdaq's basically rallied every day on big tech's blank check for the AI revolution. Maybe that's a good way to describe it. So while we're watching these news headlines hit the wires, the market just continues to defy all logic and reason and post yet another record high every single day. Monday, military reality immediately returns. Midday afternoon, Iran accuses Washington of violating the ceasefire after strikes near the strait. U.S. officials maintain that operations were defensive, always defensive, right? The best defense is a good offense, right? Simultaneously, Israel expands military activity in Lebanon, adding another layer of instability to the negotiations. They've never stopped attacking. There was supposedly a ceasefire, and one of Iran's conditions for the ceasefire was that Israel stop attacking Lebanon. That has not happened at all yet. Theme, headline, deal getting closer, reality, news strikes and expanding combat operations, right? Tuesday, negotiations continue overnight. Reports indicate talks remain active despite the previous day's exchanges. Sources describe a tentative framework under discussion and awaiting political approval. Theme, headline, progress toward agreement. Market interpretation, peace may be near. Tuesday, fresh military escalation. Early morning Tuesday, U.S. forces conduct new strikes inside Iran. 4 Iranian attack drones are intercepted near the Strait of Hormuz. The operation occurs while negotiators are still attempting to preserve the ceasefire framework. Theme, headline, diplomatic progress. Reality, drone engagements and cross-border strikes. Tuesday, retaliation. Hours later, Iran launches attacks toward U.S. military installation in Kuwait, launching a couple of ballistic missiles. Regional governments condemn the strike. The incident is described as a serious violation of the ceasefire. Well, what about the boats that the United States attacked before this happened? That wasn't a violation of the ceasefire? Theme, headline, ceasefire talks continue. Reality, direct military retaliation and escalation on both fronts. Tuesday, more negotiation headlines. Later in the day, reports again suggest negotiators remain engaged. Discussions continue over Hormuz shipping access, sanctions relief, nuclear restrictions, broader regional arrangements. Officials describe talks as difficult but ongoing. Wow, talks are really difficult. It's really difficult to talk about things, right? Very, very difficult to talk about things. Simultaneous Lebanon escalation throughout the same period. Israel intensifies strikes in southern Lebanon. I think it's the worst ever. New evacuation orders are issued. There were also new evacuation orders issued for another city, a coastal city. I don't remember the exact name of it, but apparently the IDF gave the people of the city about 2 hours advance notice before they started their campaign. Combat operations expand while diplomatic discussions continue elsewhere in the region. The recurring pattern. The sequence keeps repeating. Cycle 1, peace talks announced. Markets rally. New strikes occur. Cycle 2, negotiations continue. Drone attacks occur. Retaliation follows. Cycle 3, deal framework reported. Lebanon escalates. Military deployments continue. Are we starting to get the picture of what's happening here? This is never going to stop, is it? Maybe when we run out of gasoline or ammunition or food for that matter, that's the other coming crisis that's on the horizon, then maybe this will stop. If we look at the crude oil market took a massive hit at around 9:15 this morning. So the volume on this chart basically was about 10 times the volume. So you can see that the market's, just kind of drifting around. It's hovering around 90, 91. It was up on the session And usually that's what it does. It usually rallies overnight because usually that's when the war escalations intensify over there. And then when we come into trade, or shortly after we come into trade, there's this massive sell off that happens, and it just basically appears out of nowhere. And then a headline is there to provide the reasoning as to why it happened. So after it got crushed, it basically did nothing for the rest of the day. Now we're trading around 88.40. We can see from the 15-minute chart that we're pretty much not doing anything as well. Then over the 15-minute time scale, we hit the previous low of the day here. That's what this little line is. And we've done nothing ever since. If we look at the NASDAQ did basically the opposite, where it rallied on the open. It was down overnight, probably due to oil rallying. So oil goes up, stock market goes down. We come into trade, oil gets hit, stock market goes up, and then stock market is bid for the rest of the day. So oil down, stock market up. Got it? Okay. Oil down, stock market up. AI is going to solve everything. Every single day. There just doesn't seem to be an end to this pattern. This pattern, it has repeated itself about 20 times now over the last couple of weeks at least, where we have constant peace negotiations, we have constant military escalation. Iran denies everything that the United States says, and we just continue and continue and continue, while the reality of the situation is that we do have absolutely the worst energy crisis in history, and the market is basically ignoring that completely. It's not really pricing in an actual energy shortage. It's pricing in that everything is awesome and could never be better. As far as the crude oil market goes, the crude oil and energy market is pricing in a temporary interruption or a temporary disruption. It has not even begun to price in that there might be an actual shortage on the horizon. So let's take a look at the new doom and gloom energy clock. Strait has been closed for 89 days, 23 hours, 15 minutes, and 40 seconds. We've lost 1.2 billion barrels from the crude oil supply, never to be returned again. We're going to have to, get it from somewhere. We're losing about 14 million barrels a day. We're going to lose another 97 million barrels this week. The global demand still remains at around 104, 105, with our effective supply at 90, 91, at 13.3%. World supply destroyed. This is 2.76 times the worst energy crisis of the 1973 oil embargo. Cushing operational minimum is a major development. The market seems to completely ignore the fact that in about 3 days, given the current rate of draws, that the Cushing facility in Oklahoma is going to be at its operational minimum, and it's going to have to either replenish some millions of barrels. Those are probably going to come from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve or some commercial stocks. But if it doesn't stay above the minimum, it cannot stay running. So this is an emergency situation over there, and they've got about 3 days to sort it out. It's 99% empty. Now, commercial crude has plenty of storage left available at current draws. The SPR, has about 3-4 months, at current draws. But the basic theme here is that this cannot go on indefinitely. Something has got to be done about this. We do not have unlimited time to play peace talk negotiations and run news headlines about how things are going to get better and kick the can down the road and kick the can down the road indefinitely. Something has got to give here. We could see that the SPR remaining, we got about 354 remaining, so we're well above the 150 million operational statutory minimum there. We have distillate stocks were down on the inventory. Commercial crude was down, not as much on the inventory report. Gasoline stocks were down, but not as much on the inventory report. The Cushing, once again, is the major warning signal that is flashing here that something is very, very wrong. That something has to be done about this. So what they're going to do about this, I'm not sure. They do have the oil somewhere. They're going to have to move it from where they have it now to the Cushing facility to make sure that the Cushing facility doesn't shut down completely. Tomorrow is Friday. I'm very glad that it's Friday. I'm getting really just burned out on the market and all these crazy news headlines, one after the other, that make absolutely no sense and can cause anybody that's even perfectly sane to remain in a permanent state of cognitive dissonance while they attempt to sort all this out. Until tomorrow, you guys take care. I look forward to seeing you again on the next video.